2 years ago, I signed the papers that ended my marriage to Emily Carter. I still remember the sound of the pen scratching across the page. When everything was finished, I stood up and whispered, "I guess this is goodbye." Emily grabbed my wrist before I could leave. "Please don't go yet." I looked back. What else is there to say? Tears filled her eyes. "I never stopped loving you." My heart refused to listen to my head. "Then why are we divorcing?" She lowered her head. "Life won." I stayed silent. She stepped closer and wrapped her arms around me. "I'm begging you." "For what?" "My family needs help." I closed my eyes. Her voice shook. "Dad had a stroke. Mom can't keep the business alive by herself. Ryan's gambling debts are destroying everything. I know. I can't save them alone." I looked at her. "What are you asking me to do?" She held my hands tightly. "Help us through this crisis." I didn't answer. She took a deep breath. "When everything is over," she looked into my eyes, "we'll get married again." I searched her face. "Do you mean that?" "Yes." "You promise?" "I promise." Those words became the reason I kept living. Every morning, I woke up believing I wasn't helping my ex-wife. I was helping my future wife. A week later, I visited Richard at the hospital. He smiled weakly. "You came again." "Of course." "You don't have to." "I know." He squeezed my hand. "Thank you." Linda walked into the room carrying medical reports. She looked exhausted. "I don't know how we'll pay for next month's treatment." "I'll handle it." She looked surprised. "You've already done enough." "I haven't." Richard frowned. "You should think about your own future." "I am." Neither of them understood what I meant. Helping them was my future. That evening, Emily called me. "Did you visit Dad?" "Yes." "Thank you." "How are you?" "I'm tired." "We'll get through this." She smiled through the phone. "I know we will." Days turned into weeks. Weeks became months. The hospital bills never stopped. Neither did I. I sold my apartment. Marcus, an old friend, called after hearing the news. "Are you serious?" "Yes." "You love that place." "I need the money." "For what?" "Emily's family." He sighed. "You're giving away everything." "I'm investing in my future." He stayed quiet for a moment. "I hope you're right." "So do I." I moved into a tiny rented apartment. The walls were thin. The furniture barely matched. But every sacrifice felt meaningful. Whenever doubt appeared, I remembered Emily's promise. "We'll get married again." Those words erased every fear. Months later, I started working overtime. One shift became two. Weekends disappeared. Sleep became a luxury. One night, Linda called me. "The electricity is about to be cut off. I'll transfer the money." "You already paid Dad's therapy." "I know. I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to." She whispered. "You're the son we never had." I smiled. "I've always considered you family." Another month passed. Emily met me outside the hospital. She looked tired but smiled when she saw me. "You look exhausted." "So do you." She laughed softly. I brought coffee. Perfect timing. We sat together on a bench. She leaned her head against my shoulder. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For making you carry so much." "I don't mind." "You deserve better." "I already have what I want." She looked up. "What?" "You." She kissed my cheek. "Just a little longer." Those 4 words became her favorite sentence. Whenever another bill arrived, "Just a little longer." Whenever another problem appeared, "Just a little longer." Whenever I wondered how much more I could give, "Just a little longer." I believed every single word. Richard slowly learned to walk again. I held his arm during therapy. "You've gotten stronger," I said. He smiled. "Because you never gave up on me." Linda hugged me after another successful week at the business. "I couldn't have done this without you." Emily squeezed my hand every night. "We're almost there." I smiled every time. "I know." Another year passed. Then another. I barely noticed my own birthdays. I stopped buying things for myself. Every extra dollar went to someone else. But I never felt cheated. Love made every sacrifice feel small. One evening, Emily called. "Are you free tomorrow?" "I can make time. I want everyone together." "What?" She laughed happily. "I have wonderful news." I smiled without thinking. For the first time in 2 years, I believed the future I had been waiting for had finally arrived. I spent the entire drive smiling. For 2 years, I had waited for this night. Emily had sounded happier than she had in months. "I have wonderful news." Those words stayed in my mind all day. I stopped by the pharmacy before heading to her parents' house. Richard's medicine wasn't cheap, but I didn't hesitate. The pharmacist smiled. Still taking care of your father-in-law? I smiled back. Soon. I hope he'll be my father-in-law again. The words made me happier than they should have. When I arrived, Linda opened the front door. There you are. I brought Richard's medicine. She accepted the bag. You always think of everything. I try. She forced a smile, but something about her expression felt strange. Is everything okay? Yes. Her answer came too quickly. I stepped inside. Richard was already sitting at the dining table. He looked healthier than he had a year ago. You made it, he said. I wouldn't miss tonight. He nodded quietly. His smile never reached his eyes. That should have warned me. Instead, I believed excitement was making everyone nervous. Emily wasn't downstairs yet. I checked my watch. Where's Emily? Linda looked toward the stairs. She'll be down soon. I laughed softly. She's making me nervous. Richard looked at me for a long moment. Then he lowered his eyes. The room suddenly felt too quiet. I tried to start a conversation. How's therapy going? It's fine. And the business? Linda answered. We're managing. I smiled. That's good. Nobody smiled back. My heartbeat became a little faster. Then I heard footsteps. I stood immediately. A smile spread across my face. This is it, I whispered to myself. Emily appeared at the top of the stairs. She looked beautiful. She wore a light blue dress I had once told her was my favorite. For one perfect second, I believed she wore it for me. Then another hand reached for hers. A tall man walked beside her. They came downstairs together. Hand in hand. My smile disappeared. Emily looked directly at me. Her expression was calm, almost rehearsed. She stopped beside the man and smiled. I'm so happy everyone is here. Nobody answered. She turned toward him. I'd like everyone to meet Daniel Brooks. He smiled politely. My fiancé. The room disappeared around me. I heard the words, but my mind refused to understand them. My mouth felt dry. I looked at Emily. What did you say? She smiled again. This is Daniel. I stared at their hands. They were still holding each other. Daniel stepped forward. It's nice to finally meet you. I couldn't move. Emily spoke again. Daniel is a lawyer. He offered his hand. I've heard a lot about you. I looked at his hand. I didn't shake it. Emily cleared her throat. Asher, I finally found my voice. You said we were getting married again. Silence. I took one step toward her. You promised. She laughed nervously. Asher, no. I shook my head. You looked me in the eyes. You asked me to help your family. You said once everything was over. My voice cracked. We'd start over. Daniel looked confused. Emily avoided my eyes. You misunderstood. I misunderstood. She nodded. I was grateful for your kindness. My kindness. I never meant for you to think. You promised me. She crossed her arms. I was emotional. So was I. I never asked you to wait. You asked me to believe. She sighed. I think you confused hope with a promise. The words hit harder than I expected. Linda stared at the table. She wouldn't look at me. Linda. She stayed silent. You knew. Nothing. I turned toward Richard. You knew too. He slowly closed his eyes. I'm sorry. That was all he said. I'm sorry. Daniel looked between us. I think there's been some misunderstanding. I laughed bitterly. No, there hasn't. Emily stepped closer. Asher, please don't make this harder. Harder. I care about you. You loved me. I did. The past tense almost broke me. Daniel finally spoke again. I want to thank you. I looked at him. He smiled politely. Emily told me everything you've done. I stayed silent. You've helped my future in-laws more than anyone. Future in-laws. Those 3 words felt like someone had driven a knife into my chest. Emily reached toward me. You're an amazing friend. Friend. You stood beside us when nobody else did. Friend. You'll always be important to this family. Friend. I laughed. Not because anything was funny. Because if I didn't laugh, I knew I would fall apart. So that's who I am now. She frowned. What do you mean? A friend. She nodded carefully. You've always been a wonderful friend. I stared at her. I sold my home. She stayed quiet. I emptied my savings. Silence. I worked every weekend. Nothing. I believed every word you said. She whispered, I'm sorry you misunderstood. Nobody defended me. Nobody corrected her. The silence around that table told me everything. I picked up my jacket. Asher, Emily called softly. I stopped. Without turning around, I asked one question. When did you stop loving me? She never answered. I walked out before anyone could see the tears filling my eyes. Rain poured from the dark sky the moment I stepped outside. I didn't run. I didn't care. Each step felt heavier than the last. For 2 years, I had sacrificed everything for a future that had never existed anywhere except inside my own heart. I unlocked my apartment door just as someone knocked behind me. I already knew who it was. Only one person knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked once more. I took a slow breath before opening the door. Emily stood there holding 2 cups of coffee. She smiled as if the dinner had never happened. Hi. I looked at her without speaking. I brought your favorite. You shouldn't have. I wanted to talk. I stepped aside. Come in. She walked inside, placed the coffee on the table, and looked around my apartment. You haven't changed anything. I haven't had a reason to. She forced a small laugh. I miss talking to you. I folded my arms. What do you want, Emily? Her smile faded. You always know. I learned. She looked down. I came because my parents still need you. I stayed silent. Dad's therapy isn't finished. Silence. Mom is trying to keep the business alive. Silence. They still depend on you. I looked at her for several seconds. That's why you're here. She nodded. It'll only be until after the wedding. I almost laughed. My wedding. She blinked. No, mine. I know. She took one step closer. Please. You want me to keep paying your family's bills while you marry another man? It isn't like that. Then explain it. She hesitated. You know how much Dad trusts you. I do. You know Mom can't handle everything. I know. So please don't leave them now. I walked to the window. Rain clouds covered the afternoon sky. For a long moment, I said nothing. Then something inside me finally broke. Not with anger. Not with shouting. With peace. I turned toward her and smiled. She looked confused. What? You keep saying I misunderstood your promise. Her expression changed. I never meant. That's funny. What is? You keep saying I misunderstood your promise. She frowned. Because I never made the promise you're asking me to keep either. She stared at me. What does that mean? It means I never promised to support your family forever. Her face turned pale. But you've always helped. Yes. So why stop now? Because I helped for one reason. She whispered, what reason? You. She lowered her eyes. I believed we still had a future. I never forced you. No. You chose. I chose to believe the woman I loved. She rubbed her forehead. Asher, I sold my apartment because I thought we were rebuilding our life. I know. I emptied my savings because I thought we were rebuilding our life. I know. I worked every weekend because I thought we were rebuilding our life. I know. I nodded slowly. But we're not. Silence filled the room. So my responsibility ends today. She looked shocked. You can't mean that. I do. My parents didn't betray you. They didn't stop you either. They love you. I love them too. Then don't punish them. I'm not punishing anyone. You are. I walked to my desk. Several folders were waiting there. I placed the first one in front of her. She looked down. What is this? The cancellation notice for Richard's medical payments. Her breathing became uneven. I placed another folder beside it. This ends the monthly transfers to your mother's business account. She quickly opened it. No. I placed one last document on top. The rehabilitation equipment. What about it? I bought it. You gave it to Dad. I allowed him to use it. You can't take it back. I legally own it. Her hands started shaking. Asher, I've already arranged for it to be collected next week. Tears filled her eyes. My family will fall apart. I answered quietly. They'll have to stand on their own. They're innocent. So was I. She stepped closer until we were only inches apart. I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. I was confused. You were certain enough to get engaged. She couldn't answer. I still care about you. I know. Can't we stay friends? I smiled sadly. I don't know how to be friends with someone I plan to grow old with. She began crying. I'm sorry. I believe you. Her eyes widened. You do? Yes. I think you're sorry. Hope appeared on her face. But being sorry doesn't change what happened. The hope disappeared. I can't fix this, can I? No. She wiped away her tears. What will I tell my parents? The truth. They'll blame me. That's between you and them. She reached for my hand. This time I stepped back. The movement surprised both of us. She stared at the empty space between us. You've changed. I looked at her calmly. No. I finally stopped pretending. She whispered my name. Asher. I picked up my keys. I have somewhere to be. She followed me to the door. Please don't leave like this. I already left the night you introduced me to Daniel. I walked into the hallway. She hurried after me. Asher. I kept walking. You can't disappear from our lives. I pressed the elevator button. My parents need you. The doors opened. So did I. I stepped inside. She reached toward me one last time. Asher, please. The doors closed between us. For the first time since our divorce, I walked away without guilt. I wasn't abandoning the woman I loved. I was finally choosing the man I had forgotten to love, myself. I woke up before sunrise because sleeping had become harder than working. Silence filled my apartment. For a moment, I reached for my phone, expecting to see Emily's usual message. Nothing. I smiled bitterly. That habit would take time to disappear. I left my apartment and walked toward the nearest coffee shop. Every corner reminded me of her. The bench where we shared coffee. The bakery where she laughed because I always ordered too much. The hospital parking lot where we promised better days were coming. Every street carried a memory. Every memory carried pain. The cashier handed me my coffee. Anything else? I looked at the empty chair across from me. No. I sat alone. For the first time in years, nobody needed me. The feeling was strangely frightening. My phone rang. The screen showed a name I hadn't seen in months. Marcus Hill. I answered. Marcus. I was starting to think you forgot I existed. I laughed softly. I almost forgot I existed. His voice became serious. I heard what happened. So everyone knows. You okay? No. I figured. Silence followed. Then he said, meet me. When? Now. Where? My office. I don't think I'm in the mood. That's exactly why you should come. An hour later, I stood outside a modern glass building. Marcus opened the door before I even knocked. There he is. He pulled me into a hug. You look terrible. Thanks. I mean it. I know. He led me inside. The office buzzed with activity. Employees moved between desks, carrying files and laptops. Marcus smiled proudly. What do you think? You built all this? We built it. I frowned. What do you mean? You forgot. Forgot what? He pointed at an old framed photo hanging on the wall. It showed the two of us in college, standing beside a whiteboard covered with business ideas. You wanted to own a company one day. I stared at the picture. I remember. You drew the first business plan. I also abandoned it. You paused it. He handed me a folder. Open it. Inside was a job offer. Operations manager. I looked up. Marcus, I need someone I trust. You should hire someone better. I already did. I laughed. I'm serious. So am I. I've been out of the business world for years. You spent 2 years solving impossible problems. That wasn't business. It was leadership. I looked away. I don't know. He leaned against the desk. Asher. What? Stop living like your story ended. It feels like it did. No. He smiled. It finally restarted. I stayed quiet. You once told me something. I did. Success isn't about never falling. It's about standing again before everyone else gives up. I sighed. I actually said that. You did. I sounded smarter back then. You still are. I looked at the contract again. When do I start? Marcus grinned. I was hoping you'd ask. Tomorrow. He laughed. No. When? You started the moment you walked through that door. By afternoon, Marcus introduced me to the leadership team. The last person waiting in the conference room stood as I entered. She extended her hand confidently. I'm Sophia Bennett. I shook it. Asher. Marcus smiled. Sophia handles our financial planning. She nodded politely. I've heard a lot about you. I hope only the good parts. Marcus coughed awkwardly. Mostly. Sophia smiled. I heard you solve problems without complaining. I used to. What changed? I solved the wrong problems. She studied me for a second. Then she surprised me. Good. I blinked. Good. Now you know the difference. Marcus laughed. I told you she'd say something unexpected. Sophia sat down. I have one rule. What's that? I don't rescue people. I raised an eyebrow. I didn't ask. I know. She smiled calmly. I also don't let capable people waste themselves. Something about her honesty caught my attention. She wasn't trying to comfort me. She wasn't pretending my pain didn't exist. She simply refused to let it define me. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Every discussion focused on growth, planning, and solutions. Nobody asked about Emily. Nobody pitted me. When it ended, Sophia stopped me outside. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why did you accept the job?" "I needed a fresh start." She shook her head. "That's not the real answer." I thought for a moment. "Because I'm tired of building someone else's future." She smiled. "Better. What would your answer have been?" "I would have said you're finally building your own." For the first time in weeks, I smiled without forcing it. The days that followed were exhausting. I learned new systems, visited warehouses, met clients, solved scheduling problems. Every evening, Marcus slapped my shoulder. "You're getting faster." I'm remembering. Exactly. Slowly, the empty feeling inside me became smaller. One afternoon, I overheard 2 employees talking. "Did you hear about the Carter family? The business is struggling." I heard creditors came again. They said a man who used to support them walked away. I kept walking. For the first time, I didn't stop to listen. Their problems were no longer my responsibility. My future was finally moving in one direction. Forward. 3 months passed faster than I expected. For the first time in years, my days belonged to me instead of someone else's problems. Marcus trusted me with bigger responsibilities every week. Sophia challenged every decision I made. "You missed a risk." "I know." "Then fix it." "I already did." She smiled. "Good." Working beside people who expected my best instead of my sacrifice felt strange. Then the phone call started. "Emily." I stared at her name until it stopped ringing. A minute later, another call came. I ignored it again. Then came a message. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. Another message appeared. "It's important." I locked my phone. That evening, Marcus noticed my silence. "You okay?" Emily called. "How many times?" "5. What did she want?" "I don't know." Sophia looked up from her laptop. "You do know." I looked at her. "She wants something." Marcus nodded. People usually call the person who used to solve their problems. The next morning, my phone rang again. This time I answered. "Hello." Emily sounded nervous. "Thank you." "For what?" "For answering." "What do you need?" She hesitated. "I just wanted advice." "About?" "The business." I thought Daniel was handling everything. "He tries. But he doesn't understand how things worked." "I see." She lowered her voice. "Can we meet?" I almost refused. Then curiosity won. 1 hour. "Thank you." We met at a quiet cafe where we had celebrated our first wedding anniversary years earlier. She arrived late. Dark circles rested beneath her eyes. "You look tired," I said. She laughed bitterly. "I haven't slept much." I stayed silent. She wrapped both hands around her coffee. "Things are different now." I guessed. She looked down. "The business owes more money than Daniel expected." "I know. You know. I helped pay those debts for 2 years." She closed her eyes. "I forgot how much you covered." "No. You just never asked." She couldn't deny it. Dad's therapy slowed down. "I'm sorry. We couldn't afford the private clinic anymore." I didn't answer. She whispered, "Mom spends every day arguing with creditors." Again, I stayed silent. She finally looked at me. "Life was easier when you were there." The words hung between us. A younger version of me would have smiled. This version simply listened. She reached across the table. "I didn't understand everything you carried." I moved my hand before she could touch it. "I'm starting to understand now." I nodded slowly. She asked quietly, "Why aren't you angry?" I was. "And now?" "I'm tired." She swallowed hard. "I miss you." I looked into her eyes. For a moment, I saw the woman I once loved. Then I remembered the dinner. Daniel. The word friend. The promise she denied. She whispered, "Say something." I leaned back. "Love isn't measured by what someone gives you." She frowned. "It's measured by what you're willing to lose for them." Her lips trembled. "I lost you. You let me go." I didn't think. I know. Tears formed in her eyes. I was selfish. I didn't argue. I thought I could have both. My past and my future. She laughed through her tears. I ended up losing both. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, she whispered, can we ever be friends? I hope one day we can be strangers who wish each other well. She lowered her head. I don't deserve that kindness. I stood. I have to get back to work. She looked surprised. You really have somewhere to be? Yes. Work. My future. I left before she could stop me. When I returned to the office, Marcus waved me into the conference room. I've been waiting for bad news, for good news. Sophia stood beside him holding several documents. Marcus pushed a folder toward me. Open it. I did. Inside was a partnership agreement. I stared at the page. What is this? Marcus grinned. It's overdue. I don't understand. I don't want you managing this company. You don't. I want you helping own it. I looked at him in disbelief. You're offering me partnership? You earned it. Sophia crossed her arms. I checked the numbers. And you increased efficiency by 22%. Marcus laughed. She only compliments people with spreadsheets. I smiled. So this is real. Marcus extended his hand. What do you say, partner? I looked around the room. Months ago, I had lost everything I thought mattered. Now someone believed in me without asking me to sacrifice myself. I shook his hand. I'm in. Marcus smiled. I knew you would. Just then the conference room door opened. A confident woman stepped inside. Sorry I'm late. Marcus introduced us. Asher, this is Olivia Brooks. She smiled politely. I'm Daniel's older sister. I blinked. It's nice to meet you. She studied me carefully. I've heard your name more than once. Marcus looked between us. You two know each other? Olivia shook her head. Not personally. Then she added quietly, but I have questions about Emily Carter. The room became silent. For the first time, I realized the cracks in Emily's perfect future were no longer hidden. They were beginning to spread for everyone to see. Life finally felt steady. Every morning, I walked into the office with purpose instead of regret. Marcus trusted my decisions. Sophia challenged my ideas. For the first time in years, I wasn't surviving. I was living. One rainy afternoon, my receptionist called. Asher, someone is here to see you. Who is it? She says her name is Grace Carter. The last name caught my attention. Send her in. A young woman stepped inside, holding an old smartphone with both hands. She looked nervous. Hi. Hello. I'm Grace. I know. I'm Emily's cousin. I nodded toward the chair. Please sit. She remained standing. I don't deserve to. I frowned. What do you mean? Tears filled her eyes. I should have come sooner. I stayed quiet. I owe you an apology. For what? She held up the phone. For staying silent. I looked at the device. I don't understand. She took a deep breath. Months ago, while Uncle Richard was recovering, I was helping him learn how to use his new phone. I listened carefully. I accidentally started recording. So, I forgot to stop it. She swallowed hard. The phone stayed in my pocket. I felt my heartbeat quicken. What did it record? She looked directly into my eyes. You and Emily. The room became silent. I didn't know it existed until after the engagement dinner. My hands slowly tightened. Grace! I listened to it. She looked ashamed. I couldn't believe what I heard. She unlocked the phone. I brought it because you deserve the truth. She placed the phone on my desk. I deserve the truth. She nodded. You weren't imagining anything. My voice barely came out. Play it. She pressed one button. Static filled the room. Then I heard my own voice. Do you really mean that? Emily answered without hesitation. Yes. You promise? I promise. If you help my family through this crisis, when everything is over. She laughed softly. We'll get married again. The recording ended. I couldn't breathe. For months, I had questioned my own memory. I had wondered if grief had changed what happened. Now Emily's own voice answered every doubt. Grace began crying. I'm sorry. I stayed silent. I should have spoken sooner. I finally looked at her. Why didn't you? I thought everything would work out. She wiped her tears. I never imagined she'd deny it. I leaned back in my chair. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, I whispered, Thank you. She shook her head. I don't deserve thanks. You gave me the truth. I gave it too late. Late is still better than never. She smiled sadly. I hope one day you can forgive me. I already do. She nodded quietly before leaving. After she walked out, I called Marcus. He arrived within 15 minutes. I played the recording. His jaw tightened. I knew it. I didn't. You doubted yourself. I did. He slammed his hand onto my desk. This changes everything. Does it? Of course. He pointed at the phone. Expose her. I looked at him. Show everyone. Marcus, she lied to your face. I know. She lied to her family. I know. She lied to Daniel. I know. So finish it. Before I could answer, Sophia entered the office. Marcus looked at her. You need to hear this. I played the recording again. Sophia listened without interrupting. When it ended, Marcus spoke immediately. Now, tell him to expose her. Sophia stayed quiet. Then she looked at me instead of Marcus. I have one question. What is it? She folded her arms. Would proving you were right actually heal you? The room became silent. Marcus frowned. What kind of question is that? The important kind. She kept looking at me. If everyone admits Emily lied. She paused. Will your heart suddenly stop hurting? I didn't answer. She continued. Will those 2 years come back? No. Will exposing her give you peace? I looked at the phone. I don't know. Maku's sight. So we're supposed to do nothing? Sophia shook her head. I'm saying revenge and healing aren't always the same thing. I leaned back. For the first time, I realized she wasn't protecting Emily. She was protecting me. That evening, I took the phone home. I listened to the recording again and again. Each time it hurt less. Not because Emily was innocent. Because I finally knew I wasn't crazy. Across town, another storm had already begun. Daniel returned home earlier than expected. Emily was upstairs. Her phone rang inside the living room. Thinking it might be important, Daniel picked it up. A message appeared from Grace. I finally gave Asher the recording. He knows the truth now. Asterisk, asterisk. Daniel frowned. He opened the attached audio file. A few seconds later, Emily's voice filled the room. I promise. When everything is over, we'll get married again. Silence. Daniel stood frozen. The front door opened upstairs. Emily walked down smiling. I didn't know you were home. She stopped. Daniel slowly lowered the phone. His face had completely changed. What is this? Emily looked at the screen. The color disappeared from her face. For the second time in her life, the truth had found its own voice. And this time, it wasn't speaking to me. It was speaking to the man she planned to marry. 3 days before the wedding, my phone buzzed while I was reviewing contracts with Marcus. The caller ID showed Daniel Brooks. I frowned. Marcus noticed. Everything okay? I don't know. I answered. Hello. Daniel's voice sounded cold. We need to talk. About what? You. Before I could ask another question, he hung up. I stared at the phone. Marcus leaned back. Bad feeling. The worst. That evening, I found Daniel waiting outside my office. He held his phone tightly. His face looked exhausted. I listened to the recording. I nodded slowly. I figured. He laughed bitterly. I almost married someone I didn't know. I'm sorry. No. He shook his head. You don't owe me an apology. He pressed play. Emily's voice filled the quiet parking lot. Asterisk, I promise. When everything is over, we'll get married again. Asterisk. Daniel stopped the recording. I asked her one question. What did you ask? I asked if it was real. And she said she only said those words because she was desperate. I closed my eyes. Daniel's voice hardened. She admitted she kept you close because she needed your help. He laughed once. A week later, she accepted my proposal. Neither of us spoke. Finally, he whispered. She played both of us. I looked at him. I'm sorry you had to learn the truth this way. He smiled sadly. So am I. The next morning, Daniel confronted Emily. I wasn't there, but I learned everything later. He called me that night. I asked her why. What did she say? She cried. I waited. She said her family was falling apart. And she said she never meant to hurt anyone. I stayed silent. Daniel continued. I asked her if she loved you. What did she say? She couldn't answer. My heart didn't break. It simply felt empty. I asked if she loved me. Again, he laughed without joy. She couldn't answer that either. What happened next? I ended it. The wedding. Everything. He took a long breath. I gave the ring back. I'm sorry. I think we're both free now. The news spread faster than I expected. Friend called. Former neighbors whispered. Relatives shared screenshots online. The wedding was canceled. Everyone wanted to know why. Very few knew the real reason. Marcus walked into my office, carrying coffee. You here? I did. How do you feel? I thought for a moment. I don't know. Happy? No. Angry? Not anymore. He handed me the coffee. I think that's progress. The Carter family fell apart almost overnight. Linda blamed Emily. I heard about their argument from Grace. Your mother trusted you, Linda shouted. You destroyed everything. Emily cried. I'm sorry. Sorry won't fix this family. Richard tried to calm them. Instead, the stress overwhelmed him. His blood pressure rose. He collapsed into a chair. Grace called an ambulance. When I heard the news, I closed my eyes. I didn't celebrate. Pain wasn't something I wished on anyone. 2 days later, someone knocked on my apartment door. I already knew. Emily stood outside. She looked nothing like the woman who had introduced Daniel as her fiancé. Her eyes were swollen. Her hair was messy. She looked exhausted. Can we talk? I stepped aside. She entered quietly. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she burst into tears. I lost everything. I remained silent. Daniel left. Silence. My parents barely speak to me. Silence. I ruined everything. She covered her face. I finally understand. I asked quietly, understand what? You. She looked at me through tears. I never realized how much you carried. I didn't answer. I kept asking for more. She cried harder. You gave me everything. I know. I thought you'd never stop. I almost didn't. She stepped closer. Please. I waited. Forget everything. I looked at her. Please forgive me. She reached for my hands. This time I'll choose you. I gently pulled my hand away. I know your value now. I studied her face. Months ago, I would have done anything to hear those words. Now they felt strangely distant. I was wrong. I know. I love you. I took a slow breath. I think you love the man who kept saving you. She froze. That's not true. Isn't it? I've changed. So have I. She started crying again. We can start over. I shook my head. No. Please. I looked into her tear-filled eyes. For the first time, I realized I no longer recognized the woman standing before me. More importantly, I no longer recognized the man I had been when I loved her. That man believed promises were enough. This man knew trust mattered more. Without anger, I said quietly, I hope you become the person you want to be. Her lips trembled. But I won't be walking that road with you. She whispered my name one last time. I didn't stop her when she walked away. I simply watched the door close, knowing my heart had finally done what my mind had been trying to do for months. It had finally let her go. 6 months had changed my life more than the previous 2 years ever had. Every morning, I walked into an office that carried my name on the glass door. I no longer woke up wondering who needed me. I woke up wondering what I wanted to build next. Marcus often laughed when he caught me arriving before everyone else. One day you're going to steal my job. I smiled. I already stole part of the company. He pointed at me, and I'm still happy about it. Sophia looked up from her laptop. Less talking, more working. Marcus groaned. There she goes again. I laughed. Somehow, this place had become home. No one here expected me to sacrifice myself. They simply expected me to do my best. That difference had changed everything. Late one afternoon, I walked out of the office carrying my briefcase. The receptionist hurried toward me. Someone has been waiting outside for almost an hour. Who? She hesitated. Emily Carter. I nodded quietly. I'll handle it. As soon as I stepped outside, I saw her. She stood near the entrance wearing a simple white sweater. She looked thinner than I remembered. The confident smile she once carried had disappeared. She slowly walked toward me. Hi. Hello, Emily. Can we talk? I suppose we should. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Cars passed behind us while the evening sun slowly disappeared. Finally, she broke the silence. I've been thinking about everything. I imagined you had. I made terrible mistakes. You did. She lowered her eyes. I don't expect excuses to matter anymore. They don't. She nodded. I deserve that. I waited. She took a deep breath. I came because I want another chance. I looked at her calmly. I know I hurt you. Yes. I know I lied. Yes. I know I broke your heart. I stayed silent. She looked directly into my eyes. But people deserve forgiveness. I smiled gently. They do. Hope immediately appeared on her face. But forgiveness and trust are not the same thing. Her smile slowly disappeared. I don't understand. I forgave you a long time ago. She blinked. You did? Yes. She looked shocked. Then why can't we start over? Because forgiveness helped me. I paused. Hatred only kept hurting me. She listened carefully. I refused to carry that weight forever. Tears slowly filled her eyes. So, if you've forgiven me, it doesn't rebuild what was destroyed. She whispered, I've changed. I'm glad. I finally understand what love means. I hope you do. She stepped closer. I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. I shook my head. No, please. It isn't about effort anymore. What is it about? I answered honestly. Two honest people. She stared at me. A future only works when both people protect it. I continued quietly. I was honest. She lowered her head. You weren't. A tear rolled down her cheek. I know. You destroyed that future yourself. She covered her mouth as she cried. I'm so sorry. I believe you. I'd do anything to fix it. I know. But some things can't be repaired. Silence surrounded us. At that moment, I noticed Sophia walking out of the building. She saw Emily. She saw me. Instead of interrupting, she quietly stopped several steps away. She looked at her phone, pretending to read something, giving us space. Emily noticed her too. Is she waiting for you? Yes. She's kind. She is. Emily smiled sadly. She trusts you. I nodded. And I trust her. She closed her eyes. I threw away the one person who trusted me most. Neither of us spoke. The evening breeze moved through the street. Emily finally looked back at me. So, her voice trembled. It's really over? I smiled sadly. You told everyone I imagined your promise. She couldn't look away. Maybe I did. Fresh tears filled her eyes. But today, I took one slow breath. You're asking me to make a promise I never made. She froze. The meaning reached her instantly, just as she once denied the promise she had made. She was now asking me for a promise I had never given. Another chance. Forever. A future together. I quietly shook my head. I can't promise you that. She cried openly. I understand. For the first time, I believe she truly did. She wiped away her tears. I hope you're happy. I am. You deserve it. So do you. She looked surprised. Even after everything, I don't want your life to be ruined. She whispered. Thank you. She turned around. This time, she didn't ask me to stop her. She didn't ask for another chance. She simply walked away. Alone. I watched until she disappeared into the crowd. Sophia finally walked over. You okay? I smiled. Better than okay. She looked down the street. Was that goodbye? I nodded. No. It was closure. She smiled. Then let's go home. For the first time in years, I walked forward without looking back. Months passed, and sometimes I caught myself smiling for no reason. That surprised me more than anything else. For a long time, I believed happiness belonged to other people. Now it quietly found its way back into my life. Marcus walked into my office carrying 2 coffee cups. I signed a new warehouse contract. I grinned. You actually did it. He handed me 1 cup. No. He laughed. We did it. I shook my head. You built this company, and you helped it grow. He pointed around the office. Look at this place. I looked through the glass wall, overlooking the city. A year ago, I couldn't even imagine standing here. Marcus smiled. Remember when you almost turned down my job offer? I remember. You thought your life had ended. I did. He laughed. I kept telling you it was only beginning. You were right. I usually am. I rolled my eyes. Don't get used to hearing that. He laughed even harder before leaving for another meeting. A few minutes later, Sophia knocked on my open office door. Busy. Not for you. She stepped inside, carrying several reports. The quarterly numbers are ready. I looked through them. We're ahead of schedule. We are. She smiled proudly. You've made good decisions. I had good teachers. She folded her arms. No. You learned because you wanted to. I looked at her. You never tried to rescue me. She looked confused. I didn't need rescuing. I know. You only needed someone to remind you who you were before the pain. I smiled. And you did. She sat across from me. Do you ever think about her anymore? I answered honestly. Sometimes. Does it still hurt? I looked out the window. No, not even a little. Only enough to remind me how far I've come. She nodded. That's healthy. I laughed. You always make everything sound like a financial report. She laughed too. I'll take that as a compliment. After work, I drove past the old neighborhood. Not because I missed it, because it was on my way home. The streets looked the same. I was the one who had changed. A few days later, Grace called me. I thought you'd like an update. How's your family? She sighed softly. They're surviving. That's good. Uncle Richard is improving again. I'm glad. My aunt found a smaller place for the business. What about Emily? Grace was quiet for a moment. She volunteers at the community center now. I listened. She helps elderly people. Really? Every weekend? I smiled faintly. I hope she's happy. I think she's trying to become someone she can respect. That's all any of us can do. Grace thanked me for answering her call. Before hanging up, she quietly said, "You've become a different person." So has she. Neither of us said anything else. Life continued moving forward. Marcus and I opened another office. The company hired new employees. Every challenge reminded me that I was building something that belonged to my future instead of my past. One evening, Sophia stopped beside my desk. Dinner. I looked up. Is that a business meeting? She smiled. Only if you bring spreadsheets. I laughed. Then it's definitely not a business meeting. She laughed with me. For the first time in years, laughter felt natural instead of forced. There were no promises between us. No impossible expectations. Only honesty. And somehow, honesty felt stronger than every promise I had ever believed. A month later, I received a handwritten letter. There was no return address. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Emily. I opened it slowly. The letter was short. Thank you for forgiving me even when I didn't deserve it. I'm trying to become someone better every day. I don't expect another chance. I only hope one day you'll remember me without pain. I truly wish you happiness. I folded the letter. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I simply placed it inside a drawer and closed it. Some memories deserved respect. They didn't deserve control. Late that evening, I stood alone in my office. The city lights stretched across the horizon. Months earlier, I thought revenge would make me feel whole. I imagined proving everyone wrong. I imagined exposing every lie. I imagined watching the people who hurt me lose everything. None of those things would have healed me. The greatest victory wasn't watching Emily suffer. It wasn't hearing people admit I had been telling the truth. It wasn't seeing the wedding fall apart. The greatest victory was looking into the mirror and seeing someone who no longer depended on another person's promise to define his worth. Emily broke her promise. I kept rebuilding my life. She chose regret. I chose growth. She spent months searching for forgiveness. I spent those same months learning to forgive myself. Standing there, watching the lights below, I finally understood something that pain had taken years to teach me. Some people think broken promises destroy lives. They can, but sometimes they also set you free. The day Emily broke hers was the day I finally kept one to myself.